Speaker today. She is a member of the Australian House of Representatives since November 2001, representing the division of Colwell, and has been Colwell's elected federal member of parliament for 6 consecutive terms. Her passion includes on multiple dimensions: jobs for existing migrants, jobs, hope for new migrants, aged care, refugees, multiculturalism, especially understanding the Islamic culture since the arrival of the Afghan Cameliers 150 years ago. Please join me in welcoming our chief guest speaker for tonight, Maria Vamvakinou.
Can I just begin by acknowledging the Wurundjeri people and pay my respects to elders past and present. To all of the distinguished guests, I feel like I'm amongst a lot of members of my very extended family in public life, because all of you here, we cross each other's paths, whether it's Larry. I haven't seen Larry for quite a while, so it's nice to see you, Larry. I want to firstly, I want to be a little bit more optimistic about the resilience of the Australian community. And the seat that I hold, the federal seat of Cornwall, has, and many of my constituents are in this room this evening, we have the largest community of Australians of Muslim faith in Victoria. When I became the member, it was the largest in Australia. We've been kind of pushed out into, I think, second or third position now after New South Wales. I came into Parliament just a couple of months after September 11, so that in many ways marked a very challenging period for me as a new Member of Parliament in a constituency that went from being pretty much, a member of the broader migrant community in Australia to being then singled out the next day and defined as a Muslim community, and from that point onwards encouraged the broader community, because of events beyond our control, encouraged to see our neighbours as being somehow a problem for us. So I'm going to, at that point, and that was a long time ago, I want to particularly acknowledge Reverend Coty, because he was very instrumental in joining the Hume City Council's interfaith network that was established all those years ago. And the purpose of it was to immediately move to bring together faith leaders in our community as an act of solidarity against what was actually happening to the community. It's been 18 years, and the last time I saw Reverend Coty was up at the temple in Mickleham, and I do encourage you to go and visit the Sri Lankan temple up there. It's actually quite beautiful. And it's a symbol of the very active and dynamic interfaith community in Cornwall, but also in Melbourne's northern suburbs. So I guess my message is, and I think MINA ought to be congratulated for being a significant part of a large number of organisations that have over the years worked together to show leadership in the community about how we can best mitigate against all the adversity and actually build our cohesion, protect our cohesion and build on it. And we do that for the sake of our community. And I want to acknowledge members of the police force as well, because who are here this evening, because they are a significant part of that broader network. And even Frank from Bandura. You didn't think you were going to get singled out, Frank, did you? Shouldn't have told me you were for Australia Post. But I think this is a reflection of just how broad this network of community and friendship extends. And we come together to share Eid and to share the many iftar dinners that all of us have just finished taking part in. I just want to say that all the things that we do are important for the sake of our children as well. And they're important because often young people cannot understand a lot of the broader conflicts and tensions in the community that impact on their families as well. And being a young person and going through those stages of integration in this country, having to deal with how your own cultural inheritance and your faith, how how you negotiate that with the broader community. Doing that successfully will decide just how you end up understanding yourself as an adult. Now, we've all been through that. Samantha came here when she was obviously a young girl. I came here when I was a young girl. I think most of us, I don't know how many of us have been born overseas, but I'm going to guess about 50% of this room, maybe 65%, has been born overseas. So growing up in Australia for me wasn't easy, but I was lucky to come here at a time when political leadership in this country realised that the diversity of Australia, the multicultural diversity of this country, was actually our greatest strength. And rather than trying to change everybody and force them to fit into something else, politicians of the past discovered that actually we needed to meet each other halfway, that Australia is a migrant country with an Indigenous inheritance. We've yet to settle our issues with our Indigenous community. However, we are still a young country with that Indigenous inheritance, and we need to find a medium, a happy medium in terms of what we understand an Australian to be. So the great fights around the Australian identity, the ones that are coming specifically from the right, and I think, Nat, you referred to some of those. Sorry, Samantha, Nat's over here. Where is she? That idea of who is an Australian is a challenging issue. We all have to deal with it. We've dealt with it in the past. We'll continue to deal with it. But I'm really excited that the community I represent and the community I live amongst has the capacity to show the leadership and the knowledge and the wisdom to come together to build the cohesion that we need to help our young people grow and live happy and be happy. And God, whenever you see every kid I see stand on a stage has the same expression on their face. It's that sort of embarrassment but pride of being on the stage, and they're probably thinking, how cool is this? I don't think this is cool. But they did a great job, and the children here this evening are no different to the children anywhere else in this country, and that's the message. And it's our responsibility as leaders in the community, as adults, to ensure that we create an environment where our children can get through that process of understanding themselves, building their identity, dealing with their cultural inheritance and their faith, learning their mother tongues, because, you know, the great value of Australia is the capacity we have to be a multilingual society, and we shouldn't just throw that out because it doesn't fit someone's standard view of what an Australian is. So I'm optimistic that we've done well and will continue to do well, and despite those who oppose the sorts of things that have been said here this evening, I don't believe they're the majority of Australians. They might be loud, but they're not the majority. And we need to ensure that we stake our claim to Australia and argue our case that multiculturalism in Australia is what the Australian identity is. And it's based on migrants, because this country, this new country, the young country, is a country of migrants, and we have to resolve our issue with our Indigenous Australians. We have to reconcile that finally. And to finish up, I am really pleased, because I go to a lot of functions, to see lots of migrant organisations actually coming together with Indigenous organisations and working together. And I think together we should be able to finally give our First People the recognition that they deserve as the first people of this country, and the ownership and the respect that they are the traditional owners of the land that we're here. We respect that, and I want to wish you all a very good evening, and congratulations to MINA. And I'm happy to see you again next year perhaps, but not only just next year, but in the course of my 7th term in Parliament, as I am Federal Member for Paul. Thank you.